Hi, so today I wanted to talk about a couple ways that you can learn Spanish by using picture books. I believe every picture book that I've selected today was first written in English. Obviously you can, wherever you are, look for what your library or bookstores might offer in terms of Spanish books. As I said, these all were originally published in English. So you could also find the English version and the Spanish version and then compare and see which things are different. You could also always start with something simple. This one is Opposites book, but this one in particular is fun because it has the same picture with an overleaf going on the different sizes. So one side, grande, pequeño, sol, lluvia, and you can have the umbrella for both pictures. This just has one word on a page and it's comparing and contrasting. Tierra, mar. Is it a tree? Is it a sailboat? And it's kind of fun how that this particular book shows the difference between the opposites just by changing the picture just a little bit. So contrarios, I'm sure there are lots of other books. Even if you can't find this particular one in your library, you can find something with opposites that would be sufficient for you. My son enjoyed this one, No es una caja. It's really good to find books that have repetition so that you can start to notice patterns. This one, the parent on every page is asking in some form, what are you doing with the box? ¿Qué haces sentado en esa caja? No es una caja is the child's response, and then you can see the picture of what he's made it to be. So in this story, I read the Spanish parent sentence asking what you're doing. Why are you standing on the box? Porque te has subido a la caja. No es una caja. And my son would read, no es una caja. And even though he couldn't understand every word that I read in my portion, he could read the phrases where he's saying it's not a box. And it's quite fun. And we laughed over the very end. They said, well, if it's not a box, what is it? And the very last page says, no es una caja. It's not a box. And I think it's just a really fun book, English or in Spanish. But with Spanish, it has the bonus of being repetitious and having some phrases that might be new to the student. But that's so helpful. Comparte. One of the things I'm always looking for is books that are in mostly present tense. And this one is in mostly present tense. The child is saying how much she loves her toys, and the baby sibling always wants to play with it. The book, the teddy, but there's always a problem with that. This has samples of commands. It also has the me gusta and me encanta phrases, but then it also has the present tense, compartimos. And I like how it was in present tense because we are not quite ready for the preterite tense yet. I also really like the message in this one and how in the end they have to compartimos a mamá, and they decided that yes, they were going to share their mother. Y la compartimos. It has the direct object pronouns that we can practice. It has the present tense. It has commands. There is so much in this book that you can use to learn grammar, to refresh things that you've already studied, but also to notice the patterns of Spanish. Another one that's all in English is El Rojo es mejor, and it's also in present tense. In this one, I think it's really good for practicing the subject-adjective agreement in Spanish. In this one, for example, there are all different kinds of things that she loves, and she always loves the red. So the word red changes. Sometimes it's rojo, sometimes it's roja, sometimes it's rojas, and sometimes it's rojos. So depending on what it is that she likes. Her stockings are rojas, of course. Her coat, abrigo, is rojo. And I made a little activity to go along with this one because that way we could practice sorting. Okay, so we have hebillas. What are the barrettes going to be? Hebillas, it's going to be rojas. Mitones, it's plural, but it's masculine, so it's going to be rojos. And my son can practice sorting these. And I think this is a really great example of how you can use a picture book, simple story, simple phrases, to practice learning some grammatical concepts. Another great way to learn grammatical concepts is to use a very familiar book. In this case, Huevos Verde con Jamon. I really liked reading this very familiar book because we could see exactly how they changed it. Instead of saying I'm Sam, it's Yo soy Juan. And that's, of course, to fix the rhyming, and because Sam's not really a very Spanish name. Yo soy Juan Ramon. And it had to be Juan Ramon instead of Samayan because it had to rhyme, of course, with verdes con jamon. Huevos verdes con jamon. And this one, again, is great because it has the repetition. It has the rhyming. It does have some new vocabulary, but because it keeps repeating, once you learn the word, you can then practice it again and again throughout the whole book until you get to the very end. Again, it's a familiar book. We know what's going to happen, but I like to see how things are changed. Another book in Spanish that would be great for learning new vocabulary and also discerning between made-up vocabulary and not made-up vocabulary is another Dr. Seuss book, Hay un molillo en mi bolsillo. And again, in English, it has all sorts of rhyming words. There's a walk it in my pocket. But this one, you have to make it rhyme with the Spanish. So I think it would be a really fun activity to go through this and figure out which are the words that are not English. O un gavetorio en tu escritorio, o un antario en tu armario. And it would be nice to make a list of the words that they already know and the words that rhyme with it that are not real words. También tengo la impresión de que detrás del reloj hay un pequeño pelo. And I really like how the whole story has been changed to reflect the illustrations and to rhyme with the Spanish. Give your Spanish students some familiar words and see if they can make up their own Dr. Seuss rhymes for it. Y la colada en mi almohada. Donde siempre quiero vivir. There's lots of things in this book that would be great. And I really like how they adapted Dr. Seuss into Spanish in this case. Obviously, you can also go to the library and find books that are in both English and Spanish. And read them in parallel as you want so that you can find the patterns, see how they're formed in English versus how they're formed in Spanish. These are just some ideas that we have practiced using picture books in our homeschool this summer as we reviewed some Spanish. My son didn't always want to do Spanish review. It's summertime after all, but reading picture books makes it a little more fun. Thanks.